that is something that you don't necessarily get back when you compromise it. And the reason I bring that up is because I just finished seeing the interview with Carlos Eduardo Espina and Jorge Ramos and his daughter. In reality, is her show, right? Because she does the majority of the interview. And I think what bothered me about the interview is the lack of accountability for Carlos Eduardo Espina, where I'm pretty sure that the reason they hosted him in the show had a lot to do with the controversy that he's undergoing now. And I guess what bothered me is because I respected Jorge Ramos because of how critical he is, and he didn't hesitate to hold people accountable. This is an individual that was kicked out of a press conference because Donald Trump didn't necessarily like the nature of his questions. Okay? This is also an individual that did not hesitate to go interview Nicolas Maduro over there in Venezuela to the point where they confiscated their equipment. They were able to keep the cards, but they confiscated the equipment over there. They still had the balls to go over there and interview Nicolas Maduro. But now you had the ability to hold Carlos Eduardo Espina accountable for displaying lack of integrity, for giving people the impression that his support for Tom Steyer had nothing behind it other than his belief that he indeed was the better candidate. And then it comes out that he is being funded by the Tom Steyer campaign to serve as a consultant with him. Jorge Ramos and his daughter had the opportunity to ask him these hard-hitting questions. Consultancy came up, but not in reference to Tom Steyer, right? He was over there in the press show where supposedly they staged, or supposedly was the second incident with Donald Trump. He was over there. And I think what I gathered from that interview, which is disappointing, and he tried to use it as an example to represent the community in a positive way, was that he basically said he would be a hired gun. He basically utilized an example saying that if Donald Trump called them to go to the White House because he felt that ICE was going far, way too far, and he asked him to go to the White House, and he would go. So he would allow for Donald Trump to use him for those purposes, because you know that if Donald Trump invited him to the White House, it would be because he wanted for him to appear compromised. But what I heard was that he thinks that he should get paid. And I know what? I don't think he's wrong. I think him getting paid and the integrity of disclosing to people who he's getting paid by matters, particularly when you know that a lot of people have respected you because of how you've represented the community, and now you seem to be supporting an individual that goes against every value that I think most people who are progressive have conveyed. The one thing that you showed was that you will sell out for the highest bidder. You said it when you said if anyone from the Republican Party, or you alluded or you inferred that if you were offered to go and work for the Republican Party, that you would. The only reason you haven't is because they haven't called you. So to me, Carlos Eduardo Espina, he's nothing more than an operative. He will sell out to the highest bidder. That is who people have been supporting. But again, that isn't even about him. I will make a video of lack of integrity with him. I just find it ridiculous that people who has shown to have integrity in the past had an opportunity to ask Carlos Eduardo Espina critical questions, and they softballed the interview. Ninguna pregunta sobre el comprometerse con el candidato Tom Steyer, ni una pregunta que yo haya visto en esa entrevista que fue diseñada para él corregir lo que hizo. Ni una sola pregunta, not one goddamn question was intended to be critical with regards to his lack of integrity and not disclosing to 14, 15, or 20 million supporters that he has collectively on his platforms that he was representing Tom Steyer because he was being funded by Tom Steyer. Maybe you thought that he was the better candidate, and maybe they offered you to be a consultant after. And maybe you're absolutely right. You should take the money, because if you do a lot of research and your knowledge, why not? The problem is not that you're getting paid, although it's a little problematic because you showed that you lack the integrity to really support the party that supports the community, but that's neither here nor there. If you would have disclosed to people what everyone later find out, you probably wouldn't be in the crosshair of so much controversy. Now what I saw was that Jorge Ramos and his daughter were willing to compromise their integrity for you, which is a problem, because that means all the complaints that they've made about Jorge Ramos are kind of proving to be right. Don't deify anyone. DT motherfucking A. Don't anybody.